Hi, all. This is the Scary Movie Project, the podcast where we talk about scary movies. I'm Tara.
And I guess that makes me Matt. And did you know you are who you eat? I'm going to give you a quick history lesson, Tara, if you don't mind here. Did you know that in a remote military outpost in the 19th century, Captain John Boyd and his regiment embark on a rescue mission, which takes a dark turn when they are ambushed by a sadistic cannibal? The 1999 film Ravenous is our topic du jour today.
Ooh, that is right. And this is the, as you said, 1995 Ravenous, not
99,
the
99.
1999, excuse me,
That's
not the Canadian one done in, I think, 2011 or something.
I had never heard of it until you mentioned it, but yes.
Not that
right.
one. It's the 1999 Western horror film.
Yes.
Directed by Antonia Bird, a British woman, who was actually the second director. I can't remember the name of the first director.
I don't remember his name.
But yeah, he was canned after about 2 weeks on the film, and she replaced him. And I think it was also shot not in the U.S. either.
No.
I think it was shot in Eastern Europe mostly.
I think Mexico partially too.
Partially in Mexico,
which I
there
don't
we go.
understand because it's not like the Sierra Nevadas are a difficult place to, get to and shoot footage in. But whatever, it's
yeah, probably just cheaper.
Yeah, could be.
So it's also, and you will not be surprised if you have watched this, everybody, partially and very loosely inspired by the Donner Party.
Oh yeah, of course.
In 1847.
Well,
so
that and there was some cannibal, some famous cannibal lived in Colorado. I think he was like a prospector.
Oh yeah. Oh, I don't remember his name.
Yeah, I don't either. But he ate a bunch of people, I think, back in the 1850s as well. So I think it's kind of based on both. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So if you guys haven't gotten the picture yet, there's a lot of cannibalism in this movie.
Oh yeah.
Lots of it. And funnily, the director, Antonia Bird, and Guy Pearce are both vegetarians.
Ah, that's funny.
And Guy Pearce had to go through all these takes of him eating this stew, which apparently they used lamb in it. But he would, get into it, chomp on it, and then they would cut and he would spit it all out.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So, and I got to say, the meat in this movie, and I'm a vegetarian myself, but the meat in this movie looks so gross.
The steaks, they're all eating. That first scene when they're all eating the whole army sitting there eating those steaks. Yeah, I know, right?
Oh, it's so gross. And
but
so
it works
today
perfectly.
we have. Yeah. It's totally appropriate, but it's
exactly.
So gross. So today for you, we have an 80s connection.
All right.
Because the character of Colonel Hart is played by Jeffrey Jones, who is also
Sleepy Hollow.
Sleepy Hollow.
I love him in that.
But also the principal in Ferris Bueller's Day
Yes!
Off.
Oh, he so is. Yes.
So that's your 80s connection today, you guys.
Rooney, right? Isn't that what? Now see here, Rooney.
Rooney.
Awesome.
Yes. So there you go. That's your connection today.
Ooh, good call. I didn't even think about that. Oh, what a great movie. That's a whole.
Oh my God.
Story,
I immediately, so this was my first time watching it. I immediately was like, oh my God, it's Principal Rooney.
He's in so much stuff. Yeah. I just thought Sleepy Hollow.
He's fantastic. Yeah, he's a fantastic actor. But that was like my immediate, having grown up as a child in the 80s.
Great movie. Great movie. Oh my goodness.
Guys, if you have not seen Ferris Bueller's Day Off, it's so good. Such 80s amazingness.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
But that's not the movie we're here to talk about today.
Not today.
So are we ready to jump right in?
Please.
So I love the opening with the quotes.
Oh.
To start with.
So you think it's all serious with that one, and then it's that one.
The first quote. The first quote is, "He that battles monsters should take care that he not become a monster himself," by Nietzsche.
Yes.
And the second quote is, "Eat me."
Eat me by Anonymous. I love it. And at that point, you see it and you're like, okay, this might not be like really scary, but this will be interesting. Yeah. That's a great
although
way
it
to
is
kick
pretty
off.
gory. I wouldn't say it's the scariest, but it's pretty gory.
No, but that's just a great way to kind of give you a little kick, like, okay, this has some humor to it, because let's not fool ourselves. This is a funny movie at the same time.
Yes. So our opening scene, Guy Pearce, yay, is Captain John Boyd. Well, he's being made a captain.
Yes.
And this is the scene where they have those steaks, and he's freaking out trying to eat it because he's having flashbacks to the Mexican-American War.
And that edit scene, that's a great job of cutting in that scene, isn't it, too? They did,
to the flashbacks
really
and everything.
Quick,
it's really well done.
Quick, boom, 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 and you can tell, that was a really well done. There's actually a couple scenes that are like that. They do really well. The cuts are really fast. They're really good.
The ambiance in this movie is fantastic.
Oh, one of the reasons I love it.
So then he gets his captaincy, if that's how you say it. He gets made a captain. He gets made a captain.
His promotion.
There we go. He gets his promotion. And then the I guess it's the general who promoted him basically gets him aside. It's like, you're not a hero. You're going to California.
Hero. Yeah.
Yeah, you're going to California.
That's the guy from the West Wing TV. Wasn't he in that show?
I've
seen him.
I have not actually really watched West Wing, so I'm not sure.
You know what he is in? I know this. I'm positive of this. And you can say what you want about the movie. The Rock. He's in The Rock, and I love The Rock. That movie's great. Anyway, but he is in that too. I know that. I can't remember the actor's name though, but he's definitely been in stuff.
Yeah, but so he sends Pearce to Fort Spencer, a tiny little fort in California,
in the Sierra Nevadas.
Where Boyd first meets his new boss, Colonel Hart, who says one of my favorite lines of the movie. He's telling him what it's like, and he says, tedious, I know, but then this place thrives on tedium.
Yeah, that's right.
And he sort of tells Boyd what it's like there, who everybody is.
The scenes of everyone are so great. He's like, we have Reich. He's our soldier. Stay away from him.
Reich's our soldier. Toffler is our religious guy.
Yes, he's putting up the cross. He's about to fall off the roof.
Yes, and then Knox is the doctor, he's a drunk.
He's a raging alcoholic, I might add.
Yeah, he's an alcoholic. Yeah. And Cleves is the cook.
David Arquette.
Yeah. And then there's two Native Americans, George and Martha.
Well, I think he says we kind of just found them here.
He's like they were kind of just here, and so they're like their I guess they're like their servants. They're their helpers.
They just kind of live there. Yeah.
Yeah, they live there. They help them out.
Yep.
But they're the only ones who are not in the military.
Right.
So then they have dinner, their first dinner. And I know this is where Matt's favorite part comes in.
That line, because this is after he meets them, and you realize, they're either getting drunk or they're getting stoned, or they don't do anything. And then he's sitting there, and they're all about to have dinner, and they say grace. And first he cuts the guy off when he's in the middle of grace. Okay, great, thanks, good.
Right.
And then he just has this line that I just love, and it's just so. Anybody do anything today?
And they all just stare at him. They just stare at him.
No one does. And he's like, we have great camaraderie around here.
Yeah, we have great camaraderie here. I love that. We have great camaraderie here.
And so you've already gotten in, now you really, nothing's scary yet, but you've gotten to this comedy point where you're like, okay, even if I wanted to be scared, I'm invested now because this is now funny and I want to keep watching this.
Right. And these people, they're all so
odd,
yeah, and interesting.
They are.
And just they're people who you want to know what's with that
It's
guy.
a good cast. They did a good job. Yeah.
So then we have some flashbacks, and we learn that Boyd had or I guess we don't have flashbacks. He's explaining what happened.
Right, which is why
he went.
Yeah.
He was in a battle in the Mexican-American War.
Right.
He froze. Mm-hmm. Because he was scared, and he played dead, and he gets pulled behind enemy lines, and they bury him. And then he gets out from under the people he's buried under.
Yeah, they just buried him under a pile of bodies, and he's at the very
they buried him under a
bottom
pile of bodies.
Oh, man.
They just literally stack the bodies up, and he's on the bottom. He crawls out, and
Which would be impossible.
Crazy. And he goes crazy, and he takes the enemy command post. So that's why he had gotten his promotion.
Right.
But it's also why he got sent to California, because he was a coward, but then he took a whole command post, so they couldn't really
They couldn't
punish him
or fire him or whatever, right?
Right, or take him out and shoot him, because I think that's what they did for
firing squads. Yeah, those were the good old days. That's right.
The good old days of firing squads. Who doesn't miss that?
I want to throw a random fact out there that I believe it still happens in Idaho or Utah, but keep going.
Oh, geez. Okay, so good luck out there, guys, if any of you are there. So Cleves gets sent off with Martha to go get supplies, and they're going to be gone for a few
he
days.
gives him that list. Now I want you back in 3 days. No peyote.
No peyote, no women. And Martha just looks at him and goes, no women.
Right. I love it. He has zero faith in him. No faith in him at all.
Yeah. So they're gone for a few days. They've been sent off. They're out of the picture for the moment. And I love this. Then their Hart asks Boyd if he wants some of Knox's wine.
Yes. Or bourbon or something. I don't know.
Or his bourbon or something. Whatever. Yeah. And he's like, he just fell asleep. Do you want some of his liquor?
Is he going to mind? Nah.
And he says, is he going to mind? No. So they steal his wine or his liquor or whatever while he's sleeping. And then someone shows up, some apparently half dead guy.
Right.
Shows up and they try to save him. They do him with the hot bath and they lay him by the fire. Right. And the next day he wakes up. His name is Colqhoun. And he is, what is the actor's name?
Robert Carlyle.
He's Robert Carlyle.
He's awesome.
Who is an amazing actor.
28 weeks later.
20 weeks later. And then he's also in that show Once Upon a Time. He plays Rumpelstiltskin.
Oh, I did not know that. Okay.
So, yes, he's great.
He is great.
He's acting circles around like the whole rest of the cast in that show.
Sure.
Don't come for me if you guys love that show, but he does act circles around everybody. I stand by my word.
Fair enough.
So he wakes up. He seems like he's like upset to learn that he's like in the Sierra Nevadas, that he's still there.
He doesn't know. He didn't know where he was, right?
He doesn't really know where he is. He seems kind of upset.
Right.
He says he was out there for about 3 months without food.
Right, and they're like, "Wow, what?"
And then this is another good line. Someone's like, "Well, you 3 months without food? Like, how are you alive?" He goes, "I said there was no food. I didn't say there was nothing to eat."
Yeah, that is good.
And he tells his story about how they were traveling with a group and their guide, Colonel Ives, said he knew a shortcut.
Right.
But it actually ended up taking longer. They got stuck in the cave for the winter. They ran out of food. He says, we ate the oxen, and then we killed and ate our horses. Mm-hmm. Then we ate my dog.
Yeah.
And then we ate our belts and our shoes. And finally, when the first man died, he says, I was out looking for food, and I came back, and they were eating his leg.
Yeah.
And he said, once they ate the first man, their hunger got worse and worse. And Ives, he says, started killing others to eat.
Yeah.
So, the idea is that, he escaped. He just escaped with his life. And they learned that Mrs. McCready, who's one of the travelers with him, may still be alive.
Yep. In a cave or whatever, right?
Yeah, in the cave. So Colonel Hart is like, we have to go save her. We can't leave anyone out here. Like, this is our job. Yep. We have to go save her.
Right.
And George, one of the Native Americans, is like, I don't know. And he tells them the legend of the Wendigo.
I love, so that could totally be a separate podcast in and of itself, of the legend of the Wendigo. I love it very much.
You do it on your other podcast where you talk about horror topics.
This is a very possible and probable option. Yes.
I love I don't know, and I don't know if there are any other movies that do.
So there is a movie.
Wendigo.
There is a movie called Wendigo, and it was like late '90s, it was a very low budget, independent. Like, I'm talking like 10 people independent movie that really wasn't. I think I watched half of it and I lost interest in it. It really wasn't very good.
So there's an independent one, but as far as
mainstream movie, no.
Mainstream movies,
well,
this is
again. I know I reference it too often. I'll say Pet Sematary again because they definitely talk about the Wendigo in that movie a lot.
That's true, but I don't think they are Wendigos.
No, but it's the legend.
But they talk about it, yeah. But so he says basically any man who eats human flesh is going to become a Wendigo, and he will have more and more hunger, and he has like crazy strength, and he gets he has to eat humans after that.
Right. Yeah, but the hunger becomes like almost spiritual, and it becomes like obsessive, and he has to it basically eats him. No pun intended. It eats him up, and it becomes
they have to keep eating humans to continue to exist. So Colonel Hart's, got them all going to look for Mrs. McCready. Everyone goes, I think, except for Cleves and Martha, who are still
they're already out
there on their trip.
Right.
So they go out, they're looking. We have the poor Toffler falls off a ledge.
Is that
and
one?
He gets they're like trekking to the
he falls down the mountain or whatever.
Yeah, he falls down
Right.
the mountain. So Colqhoun has gone with them, by the way. He says he has to go to show them where the cave is. So Toffler
He says
falls.
they'll never find it without him.
Yeah.
Right.
So Toffler falls. He gets like really messed up. He's like wounded. And that night, Toffler wakes up screaming
yes.
that Colqhoun has been licking his wounds while everyone is asleep. Which is
and they take him out and they're like, "What the hell are you doing?"
Oh my God, what a way to reveal something. Like,
great.
he was licking me. He was licking me.
That's awesome.
So Colqhoun, then asks to be restrained because I can't be trusted.
He says he can't be trusted. Right.
I can't be trusted.
Right.
So, I mean, at this point, we're like, okay, he's a Wendigo, right? Like, come on, he's a Wendigo.
He's eating people.
So they get to the cave. He's got his hands all tied and they're leading him with them. And Boyd and Private Reich, the soldier, go in. And man, this is some freaking cave. Like, it goes
It's big.
way, way, way far back. It's like twisty and turny. And then there's this hole in the cave floor.
Mm-hmm.
And that Reich starts to go into. And while they're in there, outside, Colqhoun starts acting kind of weird.
He's just like, ooh, ooh, ooh. And he's just
he's like
spooking people, acting all crazy.
Waving around,
right.
being weird. And then, so Reich is down now on the lower level of the cave, and he finds a ton of skeletons, right?
Yeah.
And then he counts them. And there's one too many for how many people Colqhoun says was in his group.
For sure.
So he realizes, oh crap, it's a trap. And it's a trap. Sorry. Little Star Wars reference there. It's a trap. And Colqhoun has killed everybody. So he comes back up. Boyd and Reich are like running back out to tell everyone, but it's too late because Colqhoun has dug up this knife that he buried.
Right.
And he stabs Hart, and then he shoots George, and then he's out of bullets. So he doesn't have one for Toffler. So he's like chasing him around into the forest with a knife.
The thing that I love about is this is he like he says something to try to scare him, like you need to run or boo or something like that.
Yeah.
And you're sitting there and you're like, okay, you have a gun in your hand, yet you clearly have no purpose or idea how to use it because you got this guy point blank and somehow he's overwhelmed you. Right. It's so funny because it speaks to what a knucklehead
poor
gang.
Toffler.
Yeah,
Toffler's a knucklehead.
Right, what a knucklehead bunch of guys these folks really are. Exactly. Right.
Yeah, it's basically, this is a little tiny outpost in the middle of the Sierra Nevadas, and everybody's like cast-offs get sent there.
Yeah.
Like, we don't want them, send them there.
And they're not going to help anybody, quite frankly.
Yeah, they're not going to be able to because they're all the misfits.
Yes, miscreants.
Yes. So they let me see. Boyd. Oh yeah. So
they chase him back up the mountain.
He's chasing Toffler, and Boyd and Reich go after Colqhoun.
Yep.
They finally find Toffler, and he's dead, but Colqhoun is gone.
Yeah.
So Boyd wants to go back. Boyd is, showing his cowardice. He wants to go back to the fort.
He's like, I'm going back.
Yeah, he's like, I'm going back. And Reich is like, no, you're not. Nope. We're finding this guy. And then all of a sudden, Colqhoun is there and he just kills Reich. Like, it's like in a flash, Colqhoun is there and he's killed Reich. And Boyd shoots Colqhoun. And he doesn't die.
Sure doesn't.
I think he just sort of like,
he just gets back
stumbles back, and then he's like,
yeah, he shoots him and he falls down. He gets up like 30 seconds later, and he's like, yep, okay. And then he starts messing with him again.
Yep, he gets right back up. And so he ends up cornering Boyd, and Boyd is basically between him and a cliff.
And they're on top of a cliff at this point, right?
Boyd jumps off the cliff, and somehow he manages to survive. He like rolls down. He ends in this like...
Yeah, that's just not...
he ends in like, I don't know. It's not like a...
Well, he lands.
Like a dog pit.
He lands in a tree, and then he kind of just crashes down the tree.
Yeah,
gradually.
He crashes down, but he ends up on the ground, like with a stick through his leg.
Well, remember he lands on top of the crazy dude, and they both roll down the hill. Then.
Well, he lands on top of Reich.
Yep, right.
Right. He lands up on top of Reich, the soldier. So Reich is, has been killed and has fallen off the cliff already. So he rolls down the hill with Reich. He gets a stick through his leg. I mean, really a branch, like a big branch. And then he's there with Reich.
I'll be honest, that's not a branch. That's a compound fracture. That's his bone.
Oh, I thought there was something sticking through it.
It was. That's a compound fracture. His leg bone snapped through his skin. Oh, it's his bone
sticking up.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
that is the old compound fracture right there.
I totally thought that was a branch that had speared his leg. That makes sense.
This is what you learn from watching football for years when you see quarterbacks that get compound fractures. Anyway, sorry.
Ooh, that's bad.
Yes, it's very bad.
All right. So, yeah, somehow that's even worse than a branch through your leg.
So much worse.
But so Reich comes alive for a moment and grabs him.
Yes, he's not totally dead yet.
And then he finally dies completely.
And then it totally sums up his character, though, right? He is just crazy.
Oh yeah,
you couldn't really kill this guy that easily, right? Yeah.
Yeah, no. And so basically Boyd ends up just lying under all these branches, hiding while Colqhoun is searching for him. And at one point, Colqhoun starts sniffing. Yeah, he's sniffing for him. Oh, so creepy.
And then he's there for 3 days.
Yeah, he's there for a while, at least a couple days. Yeah. And then he gets hungry enough that he's eating twigs, and he sort of starts disintegrating. He gets weird holes in his face or something.
He just starts, basically he's dying. I mean,
yeah, he's but he's
got a horrible wound and he hasn't eaten in days. Yeah,
but he's disintegrating because he didn't have a wound on his face, and it just ends up whole. Right. I don't know. It's weird. And he finally gets desperate enough that he starts eating Reich.
He sure does. And they have that scene where he's cutting his leg open and they cut to the next shot. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Great. And so now, of course, Boyd is a Wendigo too.
Mm-hmm.
And so he goes back. And this is one of my favorite moments. They all have their blue soldier uniforms and their big greatcoats.
Right.
And he has now flipped his big blue greatcoat inside out so that the red lining shows.
Right.
So it's a very clear distinction between before he chose to eat Reich.
Yeah, yeah.
After he chose to eat Reich. He comes back and now he's all red.
Sure.
So he gets back to the fort and Martha and Cleve are back.
Yep.
Cleves. Yeah. Martha and Cleve are back. And he asks her how do you stop it? How do you stop becoming a Wendigo? And she says, there's no way to stop it. The only thing to do is die. That's the only way you can stop it.
That's right.
And so another colonel comes to see what the hell happened because everybody pretty much is dead. Well,
that's when the general shows up again with his squad, right? Don't they come back?
Well, it's a different general. It's not sorry, no, you're right. It's the general. Yeah, it's not Colonel.
Yeah, the original, the guy that sent him off to this fort in the first place.
Yes. Yeah. So he shows up and they interrogate Boyd about what happened, and he keeps telling them the Wendigo story, that Colqhoun is a Wendigo. And they don't believe him, and they say, well, we've got a new colonel who's going to be in charge of you, Colonel Ives.
Yes.
And in walks
Yep,
Colqhoun,
dressed up as Colonel Ives. Yep, you bet.
So Colqhoun was actually
disguised, masquerading, if you will.
Yeah, well, I think he actually was Colonel Ives.
Was. Yeah, right. Okay.
To begin with, he was Colonel Ives. Right. He was never Colqhoun. He just pretended to be someone else in the group who wasn't crazy Colonel Ives.
Could be.
So, Knox is still there actually because Knox hadn't gone with them. So Boyd tries to get Knox to back him up, right? That this is the guy, this is the Wendigo. But Knox is I was unwell, and he's like, no, you were drunk.
You were drunk. Yep.
So I remember it was a man with a beard, but I was unwell. You were drunk. So Knox is no help.
No. Well, no. Remember, they talk about. He mentions how he shot him, and he says, if you had shot the guy, he would have a wound, right?
And so they make Ives remove his shirt to prove that he hasn't been shot recently. And oh my God, he takes everything off so slowly, which I'm just thinking.
It's great, isn't it? It's perfect. It's so slow and dramatic, and you're waiting and you're waiting.
It's so dramatic, and he reveals one shoulder very dramatically.
And then he's like,
and
other one,
the general
please?
says, other shoulder. Right. And he goes, he waits and he waits, and he looks like he's going to be hesitant. And then he throws down his sleeve on the other shoulder, and
Nothing.
both shoulders are completely fine.
Yep, nothing.
So, okay. So obviously Wendigos like heal.
Of course.
So Boyd, then he like, I guess they go to sleep and Boyd like imagines killing Cleves and eating him.
Yeah, he has that crazy. Well, he kind of has it while he's awake. I think he kind of has that dream. Maybe it was asleep. Yeah.
Yeah. No. I think you're right. I think he's awake. He's watching
Yeah.
Cleves like working outside, and he
Right.
dreams that he kills him and eats him.
Yeah, runs up
So
behind him and
he's-
just like stab. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So he's definitely like struggling with the desire to eat humans now.
He doesn't want to. No.
And that night they're all sitting around reading, playing chess, doing whatever. And Ives, I love this. Ives just sort of stands up, and everyone jumps to their feet with their knives out.
Because
pointing
Boyd is
at different
watching
people.
him. He's watching him like a
Yeah.
freaking hawk. Like he's not letting him go anywhere.
Boyd's got his knife pointed at
Oh yeah.
Ives, and I think it's is it either Cleves or Knox has his knife pointed at Boyd. So like
They're on
everybody's got
edge.
their
Yeah,
everybody's
seriously
on edge. And Boyd follows Ives outside, and Ives is completely honest with him and is like, yeah, so I had tuberculosis and like really bad headaches and severe depression. And then I learned the Wendigo story, and I like figured I'd try it. And so he did it on purpose. Like he made himself a Wendigo completely on purpose because he wanted to be healthier.
Try it.
And
It worked,
he's like, and now I feel great.
Yep.
And he asks Boyd, he's like, why won't you just be a Wendigo? And Boyd is like, well, it's wrong. And he says, this is another line I love: morality, the last bastion of a coward.
Yeah. There are some good ones in there. Yep, that is good.
And so they've been outside, and then we realize that Cleves is gone. And Martha goes out to look for him and finds the horses dead.
Yeah, the horses are dead. That's right.
All the horses are dead. So she runs back to tell Major Knox, and like she's like in the window, like trying to tell Knox to come out, and blood starts dripping on her head.
Yep. And they both go out and
And
look
it's
up.
Cleves. He's up on the roof, dead.
All like gutted, is just disemboweled, basically. If I guess.
Right. So it's just
Love it.
totally gross.
Yeah.
So Knox assumes that it was Boyd since he's been acting weird.
And they have him
So they
chained
put
up
him
in his
under
room.
house.
Yeah.
They put him under house arrest.
Right.
And they send Martha to go get the general. Oh, it's General Slauson is his name.
Is it? Okay. All right.
Yeah, so they send Martha to go get General Slauson and escort him to the military prison. And so he's like chained up in another room. And Ives is cooking dinner, and this is another great line. There's a lot of great lines in this movie, you guys. Knox asks if he can help, and Ives says no, though you might contribute later. It's just so perfect. You might contribute later. So Boyd is then wondering like who the heck killed Cleves and the horses, because he was with Ives the whole time Ives was outside. So who could have done it?
Yep.
And someone comes in, the door opens, and someone lops Knox's head off. And you don't see who it is at first, but when the door to the room that Boyd is in opens, he can see that it's Hart.
Yeah.
So Colonel Hart is back.
Back
and
from the
now, yeah. So if he's back from the dead, obviously he's a Wendigo now.
Right.
And he tells Boyd that basically after Ives stabbed him, he was at death's door, and Ives fed him, and he's like, now he's okay with it. He's like, it's not that bad.
Yeah.
I just got to kill some
He's
people
like,
sometimes.
Can't keep a lot of friends or whatever he says, I think.
Right.
But
it's hard to have friends, but I got to kill some people, and then at least I'm alive, and I do feel way better than I did before.
Right. And then it shows him that scene. Remember, if you remember early in the movie, he's in his office and he is offering him walnuts, and he has to smash him with like a giant book. And now when he goes back in the office, he's complaining because all his books are gone because they assumed he's dead, obviously. And he's taking those walnuts and he's just crushing them in his hand with like no effort.
Do you want a walnut? And he just crushes it, and he doesn't even eat it. He just drops it. It's like, so he just wanted to show off how strong he is now.
Just smashes it in his hand. Yep.
So now Ives tells Boyd that this whole thing is he wants a few Wendigos so they can live at the fort and be in the military together, live at the fort, and just pick people off as they pass through on their way to California.
It'll just be like like picking up transients and hitchhikers and just letting people come through, and they'll disappear, and no one will ever know. Right.
So people come through anyways on their way to and from California, and so he thinks, well, if we just pick off a few, nobody will really notice.
Yep.
And we won't take like people with families or anything like that, But Boyd, of course, will not join them.
No.
So Ives stabs him in order to force him to eat his people's stew before he dies.
Here at that scene having dinner, and he's just like bleeding out of the wound
he's
that
just
he gave
bleeding
him
out,
right in the side,
refusing to eat.
They're about to pass
and
out.
they're just like eating. They're just like eating.
And
eating Knox
and
stew.
doesn't he like pour some of it in the bowl, and he's like stew a la Knox or something like that?
Yeah, something like that. So they're eating their Knox stew,
man.
and finally he gives up, and he eats the stew, and he heals.
Yep. And then, of course, the next morning, they go in there, and he says to him, how's the wound? And he's like, oh, it's great. And he pulls up his shirt, and yep, he's good.
It's completely gone.
It's good.
Yeah, it's completely gone. So they're still keeping him chained up, though, because he hasn't, like, completely come around.
And that's when they take some, because what Ives is going up, because the general's on his way, and he goes up to the lookout.
The general's on his way.
And so, what's-his-face takes Boyd out back to the office.
Well, but first he says, I love it. He asks Boyd asks Hart if he can go out. He's like, I could use with some outside time. And he says, Can I trust you? He says, no, you cannot.
He's honest.
He never tells a lie in this whole movie. He's
that's
so
true.
honest.
That's true.
And so he also tells Hart that he's going to kill Ives.
Yeah.
He says, I'm going to kill him. And Hart gives him his knife and says, would you just kill me first? I can't keep doing this.
He's just like, 1 minute he's like, yep, I'm good to go. And he's like, nope, you got to kill me instead.
Yeah, he's like, I can't do this. Would you just kill me first? So he does. He just
slits his throat.
Yeah.
Blood sprays all over
There's out the window. He slits his throat.
Yeah.
And that knife is so goth. Like, no.
Isn't it the knife that like one of the Ninja Turtles had?
You mean the
I don't know.
It's got.
That's just what
it's got a hilt.
Me of.
It's got a big hilt. Yeah, it's not quite the thing they use because theirs is like forked.
I'm not much of a knife or a weapon expert.
Anyways, it's a super goth looking knife.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Is the point. So Boyd, after he's killed Hart, he grabs a cavalry sword and he goes after Ives. And there's this amazing, like really moody sequence where he's looking for Ives and he can't find him.
And he has these quick, like, it's almost like he's hallucinating and he's just seeing him show up in his mind, right?
Yeah, he keeps seeing him. He keeps seeing him, but he's not really there. And then Ives jumps down through the shed roof.
Yes.
And they have this huge fight.
Oh, it's so great. It's just like all these random pieces of equipment that just become weapons are just laying around for them to just dispatch each other with. Yeah. I love it.
So that fight, by the way, apparently there was supposed to be a fight up on the burning roof, but they decided that they couldn't do that. And so Boyd and Ives, the two actors, they made up that fight themselves.
I like it. It works totally. I think
it totally works.
Yeah, I think it's really good.
Utterly ridiculous, you guys, but it's so good.
Oh, it's great.
So they have their big fight. Boyd ends up getting stabbed in the back.
Yes.
And then the shed falls on top of Ives. And so when Ives follows Boyd into another shed,
he already has.
Boyd tricks him into wrestling.
Oh man, this is so great.
And so they're fighting each other. They're like head to head, and Boyd ends up pushing them back so that they land on a huge bear trap, which closes on top of both of them.
Bear trap. Every time I watch the movie, I sit there and I wait for it to come, and I mumble to myself, "Bear trap.
Oh my god,
bear trap."
And then there's another great line.
Yo, and the one you're going to say is probably the best one of the whole movie. Yep. Go ahead.
I'll let you say it.
Oh, he gets him in there, they lay him down. He hits his head on the actual trigger, so the thing snaps on them, and he's like, oh, and he's laying there and does some. He can barely breathe, and he's like, that was very sneaky.
So that's an amazing line. And then also he says, also though, as they're laying there dying, he says, so if I die, I'm going to eat. If you die first, I'm going to eat you. He says, but the question is, if I die first, will you eat me?
Oh, man.
And so they. They die.
Let's not forget, before this happens, the general has come. And he's gone to the main living quarters, and he sees the stew, and he smells it, and he starts eating it.
He just starts eating some soup.
And he's like, oh, this is so good.
So now the three Wendigos have died.
Yeah.
But another dude just ate a person.
He sure did.
So now he's a Wendigo.
Sure did.
And so Martha finds the two of them, Boyd knives in the shed, and sees them on the bale trap. And it's like she immediately knows exactly what happened.
Out.
And she just is
I'm gone.
I'm done with this.
She just
and she walks out
the door.
front gate,
she
and she's
take
like,
anything with her. She's just gone.
Yep, she's walking away from that shit. She's like, I ain't got time for this. I'm done. And that's the end.
And then, well, I think Boyd does die at the very end.
Oh,
right?
he dies.
Right.
Oh, I thought he died earlier. I thought he was already dead.
Yeah, he does eventually just finally passes out and dies. And the last shot,
but so now,
shot from above of them or whatever, yeah.
But so now we're to assume that General Slauson is left there alone and is now a Wendigo.
I think he had people that came with him, but yeah. I mean, basically.
I guess people.
Point is,
people probably came with him, but he's there and he's a Wendigo now, so it's all just starting over.
Yeah, you would think so. Who knows? But yeah, I'll tell you what. That is a unique movie.
I love this movie,
I do. I think it's great. It's very unique, and I love.
Yeah.
I love the regenerative. I can't talk today. The regenerational power, if you will, of actually eating human flesh that gives these people, because that's something in any sort of cannibal story or movie you never really see that aspect of it,
and something that you don't necessarily.
It's almost like a vampire movie.
You might not necessarily notice, but in the very beginning, when we see the flashback where Boyd is under the pile of dead bodies. Somebody's blood drips into his mouth.
Yeah, for sure.
So he's been a Wendigo the whole time.
Well, and that's the thing, because you think about, I think we mentioned earlier, I mean, go ahead and put 15 to 20 people on top of you and show me that you can get out of that. You can't get out from underneath that. That's impossible.
Right. So when he stops being coward and goes crazy and kills everyone there, he's already a Wendigo, because when you eat a human, you immediately get this crazy extra power.
You couldn't have done that with regular human strength. There's no way.
Yeah. Nope. So that's how we know he's been in Wendigo the whole time. He's just been fighting it the whole time.
Sure.
So I think the way they each become a Wendigo, it kind of illustrates the way that people fall into doing evil.
Mm-hmm.
Like Colqhoun/Ives, right? He does it on purpose, right? For his own personal gain.
He talks about manifest destiny too, doesn't he?
He talks about manifest destiny,
right.
Yeah. But he wants to do it on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
He wants to do the evil for his own gain.
But he doesn't even view it as evil. He views it as some sort of fountain of youth almost, in a way.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying is I'm calling it evil.
Sure.
I'm calling it evil. So he's doing the evil for his own gain.
Yeah.
Hart is sort of lured into it by Ives, right? Ives feeds him the stuff and he doesn't really want to, but he's kind of like, well, now that I'm here, I guess I'll just do it, at least for a little while. And Boyd, it's completely accidental. And he spent the whole movie trying to resist it.
Right.
And sometimes failing. But in the end, he finally resists. So I think it's an interesting look at the ways that people fall into evil.
It's the forbidden fruit. You got to go after it. Yeah. It's that whole, what if I gave you this thing that could do this? Would you take it? Would you do it? Yeah. Interesting. So.
Yeah. But some people do evil on purpose. And some people, a lot of people, I think, who do evil just do it by complacency.
Could be. Yeah.
Which is like Hart. Like a lot of us don't mean to do bad things, but we end up doing them because we're complacent.
And it depends on your view of it, what you believe is right and what's wrong as well.
Yeah, that too.
I mean, he was doing his thing, and he doesn't care if it's right or wrong. He's just doing what he wants to do.
Yeah.
But I mean, the whole, the healing power of it was something really interesting. Almost like in a vampire film, that drinking blood would bring you back.
It's like grosser vampires.
Right. A little bit like that. So I thought that was an interesting just addition to what you would normally see in that kind of thing. I mean, it's funny, and there is genuine humor in this movie, and it makes you laugh.
Absolutely.
And the music is just very odd and very great.
Oh, the music is
this little
freaking-tastic.
Strumming on like a guitar pick. I mean, it's not even like music even. It's just this so original, so simple little score that just makes it that much better. Because, this is a weird deal. This is a weird movie. They live in a weird place. There's weird people. and everything
And
about
there's
it
one
is
that's
just strange.
like there's one that's those like Native American vocals that's like really haunting,
and it goes on for
there's-
minutes. Yeah,
it's some gorgeous music.
Yeah,
in
I
this
love
movie,
it.
guys.
That's
It's
one of my
really
favorite
beautiful.
parts of it. That's having a good score is a great part of any movie.
And it's
just
so
great.
it's non-diegetic, so it's not like sound within the story, right? It's a score. It's truly a score, but
It's
it
not-
is so appropriate for
it's
every
great.
moment when they have the music. They just it
works.
melds right into it. It
Yeah.
works perfectly.
It's perfect. It's perfect.
Yeah,
and
it's
that's
great
what's
music.
great is you get that little guitar strumming banjo thing. You get that in like the first minute of the movie, I think. So it pulls you in right away, and you think, oh, I've never heard music like this. This is interesting. So yeah, I mean, good job with the cuts and stuff, and the tension, the back and forth shots when they're in the cabin where they're really the tension's rising. The shots at that first dinner scene, like those are just really skillfully done. That's just editing done
creating
properly.
that ambiance in the whole movie, throughout the whole movie. It's that same tenor that carries you through the whole thing.
And if it was
really
a movie that
good.
and if it was a troubled production, it sure doesn't necessarily look that way when it's finished because it's a pretty good product in my opinion. I'm happy with it.
Yeah, I thought it was great.
Yeah.
So let me see. Is there anything else we got to say about it?
Watch it if you haven't.
Yeah, watch it definitely.
And you have, just watch it again because it's great.
I think I had to pay a few bucks to watch it on Amazon, but it was worth it. It was so good.
Yeah, it's only like an hour and 40. It's not a long movie.
Yeah, it's not terribly long. It's just great. It's really fun and entertaining, and
like
the characters are fantastic.
Unique is the word that comes to mind immediately. Like word association for me, if you say that movie, would be unique. It's just it's a unique movie.
It's unique. It's definitely unique.
It really is. Yeah. It's
so
good stuff.
Before we head out, we want to ask you guys, if you enjoyed the podcast, please rate and review us on iTunes or wherever you're listening so that more people can find us. And don't forget, guys, send us your movie suggestions and your thoughts on the movies we've watched so far at thescarymoviepodcast@gmail.com.
Yes.
And next week, we will be doing Poltergeist by request from Sarah. So
now I'm assuming this is 1982 Poltergeist. Yes.
We'll be doing the original Poltergeist.
Great.
Which we would have done eventually, but we're doing it early for Sarah.
It has one of my favorite, maybe one of my favorite scenes in a horror movie ever is in that movie, but we'll talk about it. Okay.
Ooh, we'll talk about, that's a good teaser, guys. We'll talk about Matt's favorite scene in a movie ever.
One of them. Not the.
Yeah. One of them. Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you guys for listening. Catch you later.
Awesome. Later.